Hi, I'm Gene Cornacchia. At St. Peter's College, we believe all citizens need to be informed about the important issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Agnes Varus NJTV studio at 2 Gateway. Funding has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. Suez, ready for the resource revolution. Guarini Institute for Government and Leadership at St. Peter's University. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation. And by Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State.
Welcome to State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato, coming to you from the Agnes Varus NJ TV studio in Brick City, beautiful Newark, New Jersey. We're pleased to welcome Analilia Mejia, who is Executive Director, New Jersey Working Families Alliance. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. 30-second description or less on your organization.
A progressive political organization that pushes voters to vote their values.
P.S. In the 2016 presidential campaign, your organization supported...
Bernie, although...
He goes by one name, doesn't he?
Yes, pretty much. Everyone knows which.
Not Hillary, but Bernie.
Yes, Bernie.
And definitely not Trump?
Oh, yes, definitely not Trump.
Because then, and why not now?
I think that he was selling the U.S., a terrible bag of goods. It was mostly, he was connecting with voters in terms of their angst and what issues. A
lot of working class voters, too, people who you represent.
He knew how to talk to Americans about the issues that were impacting their daily lives, but, it was what he was saying and what he's actually doing and his own personal history, it didn't connect.
Well, let's talk about that, because, there's a whole bunch of state issues. The $15 minimum wage you're involved in, paid sick leave, a whole range of issues, equal pay for equal work in Jersey. On the national level, as we do this program, we always put what date it is. We're in the spring of 2018. Yes. Assess the Trump presidency as it relates to the people you represent every day.
Well, when you look at what he's doing to the environment, when you look at what he's doing to workers on stealing tipped wages, for example, or tips from tipped workers, when you look...
What do you mean that, stealing tips?
So the administration has pushed essentially a bill that would allow employers to take tips away from tipped employees. And so, as we know, that's the way that most waitresses and a whole host of other industries essentially get to a minimum wage. Tipped workers make about $2 and some change, and they have to make up the difference per hour. They have to make up the difference by the tips. Well, if an employer is dipping into that pool, then employees are taking home less money. And so, in so many issues when it comes to worker protections, the environment, healthcare, even, this budget deal, yes, in the front end, it's giving some tax breaks.
You're talking about the tax deal?
Yes.
Well, doesn't it help middle-income people in terms of reducing their tax rates?
So in the beginning of this entire package, in the first couple years, most people will get a tax break, but then that gets phased out. The corporate tax breaks are permanent. So you and I will say bye-bye to our tax breaks, and the massive giveaways that were given to the wealthier corporations stay, and the hole that it creates is permanent as well.
Let's bring it back to Jersey. $15 an hour minimum wage has been talked about for a long time. We've done many programs here on State of Affairs on this topic. Where are we today, and what are the odds it's going to actually happen? A mandatory $15 minimum wage for all workers.
So I mean, I'm a hopeful yet pragmatic person. You know, I'm hopeful that we are going to be able to bring workers to a $15 minimum wage in New Jersey over the course of several years.
How many?
Our organization convenes a coalition that has been advocating for over the course of 5 years.
5 years. From where we are right now?
From where we are right now.
8?
So right now we're at 868,
yes,
I believe.
878, okay.
So our, you know, the idea is over the course of 5 years, you would be able to, as an employer, be able to make whatever adjustments so that you
Would that also potentially include a small business employer, who many of whom we had on here, we'll have many we're taping today, who say, great idea, can't afford it. We're going to have to let some people go, have to raise some prices. You prepared for that?
So when you look at where this is passed, you see that perhaps in the beginning, in what states or regions, CTAC, for example, Seattle, Tacoma, what regions have adopted this, what you see is that people spend the money, right? Most low-wage workers, middle-class or working-class people, you know, they live check to check. So that extra $20, $30, they're spending it in their communities, buying clothes or food or new shoes for their children, maybe going out to eat, a splurge that they couldn't afford before, and that actually drives demand.
Before we move to the whole question of paid sick leave, one more question on this. To what degree are you sensitive and empathetic to small business owners who say, I'd love to do it, can't
absolutely.
do it? What do you say to them, though, seriously?
So I run an organization. I have staff.
You have a budget. We have a budget.
I have a budget. I have a budget.
Pay health care for people,
yes.
pension. You got the whole bit.
Yes, and I pay a minimum wage.
You're running a business that's a nonprofit.
Exactly.
Just like public broadcasting.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So I understand the constraints. What I will say is that if you look at how this has worked out, the reality is that we're a consumer-driven economy, and in order for consumers to consume, they need to have some money. And raising the minimum wage would allow people to go beyond the $18,000 a year minimum wage workers make.
What is paid sick leave?
So right now, 1.2 million New Jerseyans do not have access to earn sick days. They can't earn a day to take off to care for themselves or a family member without all of a sudden losing that full day's pay and not being able to make ends meet. And you proposed?
Your organization proposes?
Our organization is supportive of Senator Weinberg and Pam Lampitt, Assemblywoman Pam Lampitt's bill that would allow workers to earn 1 hour of earned sick time for every 30 hours worked. So you have to put in the time to earn some sick time. It would be capped at 40 hours or 72 hours for workers, depending on the size of the business. And then you could take the time once you've earned it. So after a course of several weeks, for example, part-time workers over, I think, 12 weeks would be able to have a day to care for themselves or their family.
By the way, we're monitoring this issue and state of affairs, as well as our great colleagues here at NJTV News. We'll give you a day-to-day report on where that is, because I'm sure there are going to be legislative hearings, votes on it, et cetera.
Yes.
Question on the Me Too movement. Where is it in connection with your organization, and why does it matter so much?
So, I mean, so many women have, at one point or another, experienced something unpleasant, either at work or in their communities. I think, you know, anything that pushes justice, equity, and respect is important. I think that, you know, I have my own personal stories about Me Too. All I could say is that we don't want to raise. You have a daughter.
Sure do.
I have sons. I'm sure we don't want to raise our children in an environment where any person, just by, you know, what they were born, what community they were born into, or what gender they were born into, that they should be treated with less than full respect.
Do we have
and
an
dignity.
opportunity now to do something we've never done before? Have an impact we've never had before?
I think every day we do. I think,
more now than ever.
I mean, I want to say yes because it's you, but I have to tell you, I feel like...
Don't forget about me. I want to know, do you really believe that right now there is a moment that...
I think every day we have a moment to completely change the culture, the tone and tenor of our communities, of our environment, right? I think if we only wait for massive movements to make real change, we miss an opportunity. You can impact the way... we could impact our state every single day by how we interact with people, you know, in our workplaces, or what we allow.
Policies
what we
alone
don't allow.
won't do it, but they are needed.
I think that, you know, we have to urge our legislators to think bigger and bolder and be responsible for their constituents.
You add something to the discussion every time you're here. We thank you so much.
Well, I'm so grateful. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank
Stay
you.
right there. State of Affairs from the NJTV studio here, right in Newark, New Jersey. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
State of Affairs is pleased to welcome Joe Fiordaliso, President of the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Thank you, Steve. It's good to be with you.
We should disclose that we have known each other for a couple of years.
A few.
There's an Essex County connection. You're born and raised where?
Right on the other side of Penn Station here, down Neck.
In the Ironbound. Down Neck is the way it's referred to when I grew up, when you grew up. Describe the Board of Public Utilities. What is the main responsibility at the board?
The initial responsibility when it was created back in 1911 by then Governor Woodrow Wilson, and I didn't help him create it.
You did not?
No.
Yeah.
I just
what happened to his
that.
career after that?
I don't know what he did after
Sorry.
that. We were
Go
trying
ahead,
to get
Joe.
him on a good career path, but it
just never worked out. Go ahead.
And the primary responsibility was to provide reliable, safe, and reasonably cost energy to the citizens of the state of New Jersey. And that's been our mission for well over 100 years.
How much more complicated has that become with wind, solar, nuclear, natural gas?
Yes.
Not to mention this thing called global warming. How much more complicated is the job?
Well, the job is a lot more complicated because back in 1999, the state legislature designated the Board of Public Utilities as the Clean Energy Office for the state of New Jersey. So in addition to our regulatory responsibilities, we also oversee all of the renewable energy projects in the state of New Jersey. And an awful lot originate from our agency and so on. And now we're in the midst of really a very exciting adventure, I believe.
With the new administration. By the way, the President Fiordaliso came onto the board in January 2006. He's been a very long-standing member of that board and now is president through several gubernatorial administrations. If you were to describe the Murphy energy policy, what would it be?
Exciting, aggressive, and doable.
Define aggressive.
Aggressive that he wants to make New Jersey the greenest state in the union. And we can achieve that. As an example, Steve, back in 2001, we had 6 solar installations in the state of New Jersey. Today we have in excess of 100,000 just solar installations.
Right.
That's just solar. And he signed an executive order, the governor did, executive order number 8, directing the BPU to start initiating the necessary steps to have offshore wind.
Windmills?
Windmills.
What does it really
turbines.
How's that? Describe how that impacts our daily lives, potentially could impact it.
Well, it impacts it because it's going to provide clean energy to at least hundreds of thousands of homes here in the state. Jobs, economic development. You know, people look at clean energy and renewable energy as something that's a drain on society. To the contrary, it's a benefit because it does, as you indicate, provide jobs. It provides economic development. It provides a whole new industry. Just like we gave birth to the solar industry back in 2000, this is another industry that is going to grow here in New Jersey. And I think we're going to see as Governor Murphy's administration goes along, we're going to see a much broader renewable portfolio as far as renewable energy and things of that sort of concern.
So let's do this. We're taping in the spring of 2018, a whole range of very interesting issues related to energy being discussed in and around the State House. One of them, and we're going to ask the President to give us his sense of things, but things are changing. You'll see the date that we're taping. On the question of nuclear, Energy. And to disclose, PSE&G is a major underwriter of New Jersey Nightly News, one of our underwriters as well. They are into this issue. They're not the only one. Nuclear power plants. What is the message you want to send as the president of the Board of Public Utilities, which regulates utilities in this state, to all the citizens right now?
Okay. We do regulate utilities in this state. We regulate since 1999, the ADECO law, which provided competitive markets in the energy industry. We do not regulate those industries that generate energy, only those that distribute energy.
Is that the Department of Environmental Protection which regulates that?
Well, no, it actually is FERC, Federal Energy.
Federal Energy?
Yes, generate and transmission by...
Regulatory Commission.
Regulatory
That's
Commission.
FERC.
Yeah, it's FERC.
So, is nuclear part of the mix?
Nuclear, if I may, I look at our energy strategy, or any energy strategy for that matter, as a kind of a jigsaw puzzle. We got to fit the pieces together. We can't take anything off the table. Our challenge as a society is to try to get those pieces of that jigsaw puzzle to fit. Nukes have to be a part, in my opinion.
A part of it.
A part of it, absolutely.
So for people who say, don't get rid of all of them, it's too dangerous, you say?
I say, well, we could do that.
What's the price we pay, in your opinion?
But we're going to eliminate the fact that nukes provide 40% of our energy here in the state of New Jersey. So where are we going to get that 40% of energy? So we have so many checks and balances in the United States, and I understand people's apprehension, you know, with things like Chernobyl and what happened in Japan and so on. But we have so many checks and balances here. I'm not going to say it will never happen in America, but the chances of it happening are minuscule in comparison.
You take climate change very serious. Real quick before you do that, give me 30 seconds on natural gas, its place in the mix.
Has to be.
This has to be.
Yeah, because again, that's one of those pieces of the puzzle.
Climate change, how real in your mind? And for those who say, come on, where's the science? You say?
Well, I say, well, look at the 98% of the scientists who say there is climate change, number one. Number two, and I don't mean to be dramatic, but you have children. I have 4 grandchildren. And, you know, my runway may be growing shorter, but hopefully their runway is a very long time and a very long away from here. And they have a long life ahead of them. And I believe we, as a society, as humanity, have an obligation, and I would even say a moral obligation, to do everything we possibly can to minimize the effects of climate change.
You think it's a problem potentially for children and grandchildren?
Absolutely.
And if we don't?
They're gonna experience the dramatic, devastating effects of climate change. And we see it now. We're seeing bits and pieces of it now. We're seeing storms that are more extreme than they used to be. We're seeing oceans rising. If this continues, Steve, there's not going to be any Atlantic City.
And for those of us in New Jersey, with the Jersey Shore being so important, that's just a piece of the equation. Joe Fiordaliso is the president after serving since January of 2006. He's the president of a very important board, the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Steve.
It's a pleasure.
My pleasure.
We'll be right back right after this.
To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are pleased to be joined by our good friend Marjorie Perry, President and CEO of MZM Construction and Management. Also, let me disclose you are a trustee of the Caucus Educational Corporation, our production company.
I am, and I just love it. Been there 5 years, 6 years actually.
Yes, yeah. Can I disclose something else?
Yes.
Our friends over at the NJBiz, which is a business publication that comes out every week, they select the 50 best women in business. Marjorie was selected with that group, and take a look at the website to find out the others. But you were also receiving the Lifetime Legacy Award.
I am.
What does that mean?
You know, I was a little bit taken back by it at first. I said, oh my goodness, what does that mean? Because my peers selected me without me knowing. That's a real big day. How you're showing up in the state, how you're showing up in the country, that you don't even know you're being nominated for such an award. I'm so honored, I don't know what to do. I mean, you know, I'm in the room with the Linda Bowdens or Sally Glicks and all these other powerful, powerful women to receive this award.
But Marjorie, you and I, we've been friends for a long time. We've talked about women. By the way, this is also part of our Women in Leadership series. Check out our website, a whole range of very talented, important women who happen to be in leadership positions, or leaders who happen to be women, put it that way. You've been in the construction industry for a couple of years.
27.
Biggest lesson you've learned about leadership is?
Get out of the way when I don't know what I'm doing.
What do you mean?
You know, I think we all start out starry-eyed on how we're going to take over the world and we're going to impact the world just on our know-how. And what my business has taught me over the 27 years, which we've talked about, is that I didn't know how to lead necessarily in a powerful way. Lead, you can start a business. I was managing. It's a big difference between leading and managing. Managing is like get the task done, get the job done. Leading is understanding what's coming, what's not coming, how to anticipate and stay in big picture mode as much as possible.
More challenging as a woman, but a woman who also happens to be a minority in business?
I'm in construction, so that's a really another attitude where I'm working on multi-superstructures and there's not brown women walking necessarily around the job. They may be on the cleaning crew. Who's looking at me to actually come in and say, hey, listen, I build superstructures as well. So that was a hump I had to learn to embrace versus force my intellect on them. That wasn't acceptable. I had to learn to embrace. That's also a great leadership quality I had to learn as I went along.
Business in New Jersey, you've served on several gubernatorial commissions, task force, et cetera, et cetera. The Murphy administration and their policy as it relates to the business community, as you see it, describe it.
I don't know.
I mean, by the way, we're doing this in spring 2018. We don't know a lot of this yet.
We don't know. Let's just say that I think Governor Murphy is out the box on what he hopes to be able to accomplish. I think Governor Murphy understands the need for patient capital, not just a loan from a bank if you want to grow small businesses. Remember, small businesses still provide 66% of the jobs throughout the country. No matter how you look at it, we're the biggest employers on the planet right now. I think that if the Murphy leadership administration can stay on message and build those swells around it, I think small businesses will have a great shot in the state of New Jersey.
The Trump tax policy, the changes that were made, the reduction in the corporate tax rate, you say? Come on, that's not an answer. That's just a sound you're making.
Well, here's the deal. On one hand, being an S-corp, there's some benefit for it.
Absolutely.
There's no question.
Where's the downside in your mind?
The downside to me is I don't own the land. So if you own the land, you have even a bigger benefit down the road. So I don't have any more NOL, so I can't go up to the C Corp where I can have more tax advantage. I have to stay here. Right. So I have to be very, very mindful with this 21% on how this is going to look.
35 down to 21%,
right,
the federal tax rate.
So right now, I say 2018, I'll be fine. I'm gonna be one of the businesses that say, okay, I don't have to pay the taxes there. I don't know where the loopholes are going to catch me on the other end for property, for things of this sort where I can only write off 10%. We were big in giving. You know, how does that impact my business? You know, so I don't know whether for a smaller business like me that impacts me a lot because there's no give back now on those deductibles. So if we're looking at how it's going to play out, I don't think anybody has a real picture because IRS is still working it out.
That's right.
I think that when we visit this again at the end of October or as we're preparing for the end of 2018, I think we'll really be able to see, does everything stick that was thrown up on the wall, or are some things going to be rolled back so it's a more equitable situation?
Marjorie, in the time we have left, I'm curious about this as part of our Women in Leadership series. You mentor and coach a lot of women.
Yes.
Do you see more and more women, particularly in the post, if you will, Me Too movement, saying, it's our time, not just to work there, but to be the leader? Do you see more and more of that? Or is it
I have two thoughts about the Me Too movement. I think the Me Too movement means that women are saying, okay, I can say no if I don't want to say yes. That's what I really think the Me Too movement. I don't know if that's going to translate into be business leaders.
Really?
No.
But I'm looking at, Academy Awards was recently, this will be dated. I'm looking at women saying, we're directing. we're producing. That's business. We want to be the leader. We're going to step up and do it.
What is that, 0.5% of society?
But doesn't it translate into other industries?
We don't know. We don't know. Because if you notice, let's just say when we saw the Academy Awards, everyone didn't wear black this time. So it wasn't a biggest conversation as it was for the SAG Awards.
Do you think it's potentially not a fad, I shouldn't say that, a trend?
I hope not.
You want to see it
I really wanted to sustain, have legs under it, because women sometimes not only are marginalized in their mind, they allow others to marginalize them. If women just speak up and have their confidence about who they are, then that's a good day with the Me Too movement. I have to see how that plays out.
I've got about 30 seconds left. Where does your confidence come from to deal with all the stuff you deal with? Stuff is a kind PBS word.
A lot of failure and comebacks.
Really?
Yes. Every time I learned from why I fell apart and was able to get back up and could do self-analysis. Because you got to understand why you did what you did.
Marjorie Perry is President and CEO of MZM Construction and Management, 50 Best Women in Business in New Jersey from NJBPU, and also the Lifetime Legacy Award. Now we know why you won it. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Steve. Always a pleasure.
That was great.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Agnes Veris NJTV studio at 2 Gateway. Funding has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, PSE&G, Suez, Guarini Institute for Government and Leadership at St. Peter's University, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, New Jersey Sharing Network, and by Choose New Jersey. Promotional support provided by NJ Advance Media and by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association.
Highly educated and perfectly located in the heart of the Northeast Corridor, New Jersey provides access to top talent and one of the most concentrated and diverse consumer markets in the world. A business located in central New Jersey has access to more than 22 million consumers within a 2-hour drive. Whether it's our strategic location, transportation systems, reliable utilities, or talented workforce, New Jersey has all you need to grow your business. To learn more, visit choosenj.com.